The United Arab Emirates UAE said on Tuesday it quit OPEC and OPEC Plus, dealing a heavy blow to the oil exporting groups and one of the major members, Saudi Arabia, at a time when the Iran war has caused a historic global energy shock. The UAE's departure could weaken the group, which has usually sought to show a united front despite internal disagreements over a range of issues from geopolitics to production quotas. OPEC Gulf producers have already been struggling to ship exports through the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow choke point between Iran and Oman because of Iranian threats and attacks against vessels. Earlier, the UAE criticized fellow Arab states for not doing enough to protect it from numerous Iranian attacks during the war. UAE Minister Suhail Mohammed Al-Mazroui said the country's decision to exit OPEC aligns with sector policy-driven developments and is consistent with long-term market fundamentals. And DD India correspondent Mark Lynn joins us live with more from the newsroom. Mark, if you could simplify for us, why is the UAE leaving OPEC groupings?
Well, Shubhendu, it has been festering for a while now for the UAE. The UAE has not felt comfortable in the grouping. First of all, it doesn't like the quota system where, it has increased its own capacity recently and was hoping to, produce much larger numbers of barrels per day for the international market. But the OPEC continues to control its output, and that's one of the reasons. Then a lot of its it's not smooth sailing for any of these countries within the Gulf region because of the Strait of Hormuz. So the movement of oil and natural gas and LNG and all these things through the Strait of Hormuz has been tied up. So this has been one of the issues. Also, Saudi Arabia and the UAE have not been, doing too well together in terms of the Saudi Arabia, of course, is the largest producer within OPEC, and the UAE is the third largest producer, producing about 15%. But it has wanted to ramp up its production, and there is the feeling that the biggest party in the cartel controls the others, and they really wanted to move on an independent policy at this current time, especially when oil prices are continuing to rise. It is to the benefit of the UAE to start selling independently to different buyers, especially to China and other countries, and also maybe even look at, while it's moving in independently, to even move away from the dollar.
What are the implications then for global energy supply chain that is already under strain due to West Asia conflict?
Well, indeed, as I was saying, that OPEC actually at its peak was producing about 40% of the global oil market, and OPEC Plus, it went up to about 55%. But now with the UAE moving away, recently also Qatar had moved away, Angola had moved away, Indonesia had moved away. So OPEC is fragmented to some extent. Of course, Saudi Arabia continues to be there, Venezuela continues to be there. These are large producers, and OPEC will continue to, in terms of dominating oil prices, they would have a say, because after all, it is a numbers game, and those who produce the largest in a way can also control the market. But the point is that other countries, Russia of course is part of OPEC Plus, the United States has now become one of the major oil producers of the world. It also has a significant influence on Venezuelan oil. Then we know that Iran is tied up in sanctions. Iran is a significant member of OPEC. In fact, it used to use routes through OPEC for its trade. It does significantly impact the supply, especially the supply that comes from the Gulf region through the Strait of Hormuz. But the world is starting to adapt to that. And we would likely see, a continued, because the market acts on sentiment, we would likely see a continued rise in prices for a little while, at least, until, things settle down.
Mark, appreciate you joining us with those updates.